Today we've got another review. This is actually part 2 of a review that I did probably like 4 years ago. We're going to be checking out the brand new MartinLogan Motion SLMs. I don't know if you've seen the review or not, but I've actually been using these speakers for quite some time now. This is actually going to go in my living room. Lately, for the past few years, I've been using the bigger versions. These are the SLM XLs. The XL obviously stands for like extra large because it's a bigger speaker. This particular model, which I also have here, this guy. So I've got left and rights. This one is actually going to be the center channel, so it's going to get placed underneath the television set. Today we're going to be checking out the smaller ones, which are these guys right here. So let's get this thing unboxed, go over a couple of specs with you guys. This is just a standard SLM, which is, I would assume stands for slim, since it's a very slim speaker. Inside this box here, we have some accessories. We've got the wall anchors, if you're gonna mount this on your wall. Of course, some documentation, the instructions, and the little MartinLogan badge. That's magnetic, so you can place it on the grill if you wanna show off what you got in your wall. In here, we've got brackets. These are the little feet. If you wanted to not mount them on your wall, you want to place this like on a stand, you'd put this behind the speaker. This is an adjustable foot, which you can angle to toe the angle of the speaker. So you get 2 of these guys. And this is an optional base. So if you want to stand this up to use it as like an upright speaker, you mount the actual speaker on the top here, and this is the little foot. So you've got 3 different ways you can actually mount this speaker. You can mount it on your wall, you can place it like on your television stand, or you can stand upright. So 3 different mounting options for this particular model. Here is the speaker itself. So in here we have got, this is the wall mount. So this part screws to your wall, and then these little screws here will let you actually anchor the speaker on, so you can just stand it upright this way or that way. Either way you choose. So cool little mounting bracket. This is the speaker. It's definitely a lot smaller than the XLs. All right, so this is it here. Small guy. It's about 1.8 inches thick, very shallow. It's about 6 inches wide from left to right. From top to bottom, it's about 25.5 inches tall. So very slim speaker. These attach magnetically, the grill. Very nice. So just like its larger brother, it's got the 1-inch folded motion tweeter, which has an 80 by 80 dispersion pattern. Then it's got 4 4-inch drivers. I believe 2 of them are passive, and then the other 2 are active. And then around back, we have 2 push pin connectors. So what you do, you press the button in there, and then you slide the wire in, and that's that. And that's where the little keyhole slots are. So put your screw into the wall or the mounting bracket, and then that slides right onto the bracket itself. But fairly slim speaker. Frequency response is 110 hertz, 25K. So unless you really don't care about bass whatsoever, it is highly advisable that you pair these guys up with some subwoofers, because these have pretty much 0 low end whatsoever. So definitely get yourself a subwoofer with these guys. And recommended amplifier is anywhere from 20 to 140 watts per channel. So these are actually going to go and get mounted on the back wall here, or possibly this side here. Either way, these are going to be the surround channels. So this should be a really nice match once I get everything all set up. So I'll have the SLMs up front for the left, right, and also the center channel. And then 2 of these guys are gonna go probably on the back wall, since I can't really put it over there because I've got a window there. But we will be back once I get this installed. We'll give you some thoughts and impressions. And as far as I can tell, just using these guys by themselves for stereo, I think we're gonna be in for a good treat. What I did was take the mounting bracket and screwed it to the side walls instead of the back walls, since I've got no space between the couch and the back wall. Once the bracket is on, all you have to do is drop the speaker on the mount, and it should be pretty secure. For the left surround, I had a little space between my window and the back wall where I could hang the other speaker. Unfortunately, my curtains are kind of in the way, but it still works. I know this isn't the ideal location for the surround channels, but it's all I've got to work with. I mounted the center channel under the TV, and as you can see, this one matches the left and right channels perfectly. I've got all the speakers hooked up to an Emotiva XMC2 and an XPA7 amplifier for power, which is more than enough for these speakers. For testing purposes, I ran the speakers two ways. First, I ran them without any subwoofers. This is so I can see how dynamic they are on their own. I also paired them up with two REL 1205 subs. The first demo I threw in was Underwater on iTunes. This movie's got a ton of subtle and not so subtle atmospheric effects with a heavy amount of bass. One of the things I really like about these speakers is that folded motion tweeter. They can deliver all kinds of high-end details, which for a movie that has a detail-rich soundstage, you want to hear those little nuances. The SLMs picked up all the creaks and leaks, and that woman's voice that plays in the surround speakers during the explosions. Before the mayhem breaks out, the speakers really captures that echoey hollow atmosphere in this building, which made my living room feel a lot bigger than it is. Of course, once I added the subwoofers, everything got way more dynamic and aggressive. So yes, for a big action scene, you're gonna need a sub.
Shut the door now! Shut the door now!
Next, I wanted to see how good the speakers did with sound effects panning through each one, so I threw in Edge of Tomorrow. As to be expected, since the speakers have a nearly perfect timbre to one another, when those alien projectiles and soldiers swing around midair, the effects sounded the same as they panned through each channel flawlessly. If I could fit a pair of back speakers in, everything would probably sound more immersive, but as a 5-channel setup, this is as cohesive as it gets. The detail from the tweeters once again delivered. You can very clearly hear all the debris floating around the room when something blows up, and even without height channels, those ships actually sound like they're floating around above your head. And again, add a subwoofer for more impact for these big action flicks. Next, I wanted to see how these did for some beefy Darkseid and Steppenwolf vocals. So, Zack Snyder's Justice League is up next.
I have turned 100,000 worlds to dust, looking for anti-life, looking for those who robbed me of my glory. I have turned 100,000 worlds to dust, looking for anti-life, looking for those who robbed me of my glory.
Surprisingly enough, I'd say you probably could get away without using a subwoofer for this scene. That upper mid-bass was definitely deep and resonant for both these characters' voices, and projected really heavy. Adding the subwoofers gave a little more bottom end, but wasn't too necessary, so things like this or like gunshots will project well by using the speakers alone. But I'm gonna still say, add a subwoofer.
It shall be so, my master. It shall be so, my master.
At the time of this video, the MartinLogan SLM XL sells for $750 each, and the smaller SLM is $550 each. With all this new content dropping on streaming services, I wanted to up my living room audio and get some surround sound going, but I didn't want to have another room full of big speaker boxes, which brought me to the SLMs. They're less than 2 inches deep and they take up 0 floor space. They barely stick out from the wall, so the chance of you or someone walking into them is fairly slim. I'm a huge fan of MartinLogan electrostats, and I've come to find that their ribbon tweeters share a very similar tonal quality with their ESLs. The SLMs have that great upper end transparency with very wide dispersion that makes these small speakers sound a lot bigger than they are. They've got some great mid-range presence that carries through from the front channels to the surrounds. So when you hear that voice talking in the left surround channel, it'll match perfectly with the center and the rest. This is going to give you seamless surround, and since the speakers are so slim, they kind of disappear into the room and all you'll hear is sound coming from everywhere. Since the speakers are so thin, they just don't produce much bass. Therefore, if you want the most complete surround experience, then adding a subwoofer or two is definitely a must. I will recommend you get a subwoofer that can play notes above 100 Hz with some good punch and not just something that's got a ton of boom. Otherwise, you might not get a good blend with the SLMs and you might have a big gap somewhere in the middle. That being said, you could pair these up with some MartinLogan subs, which I'm sure would mate well, but I ended up using a pair of Rels which for the price are quick and punchy and made the MartinLogan sound like a full range tower. Plus, they're not all that big. I think if you're looking for an inconspicuous speaker setup that takes up very minimal space and throws out a huge soundstage, and without having to cut holes for in-walls, I'd have to say the MartinLogan SLMs are gonna be very tough to beat, and the price isn't all that crazy. So what are your thoughts on the MartinLogan SLM speakers? Have you heard them and how do you think they sound? Leave a comment and let us know. As always guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like the video if you found it useful and subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you guys again in the next video.